I'm going to go through two examples to show you how to add and subtract radical expressions. Something that we've done in the past, so this should just be a little review for us. So in the first one, I have 4 terms here, and I'm going to do some adding and subtracting in here. What I like to do first is go through and find any of those expressions that we can simplify. I look at this first one, the negative 4 root 3. Nothing to simplify there. The square root of 3 is as simplified as it's going to get. But when I get here to the 4 root 12, that one I can simplify. So I look at this, and I'm going to have my 4, and then I'm going to break the 12 down or factor it. And the factors of 12 will be 2 times 2 times 3. Then I'm going to go to this minus the 2 root 32. And again, that one can be simplified because I can simplify the square root of 32. I look at factors of 32. Maybe 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. There we go. And then get to the last term, the 2 root 72. That one again can be simplified. Factors of the 72, well, I look at that and go, factors of 72 are 2 and 36. 36, a couple different ways to do this one. I'm going to go with a little shorter method than what I normally do. Usually I go total prime factorization, but in this case 36 I know is 6 times 6. And I'm just going to leave it there, and I'll explain that a little bit more in just a second or two. So now I'm going to come back to the 4 root 12. Here I notice that I have a pair of 2's. Square root of that is 2. Therefore, I'm really going to have 2 times 4 now on the outside, and I'll write that down. 2 times 4, and then I still have the root 3. The 2 root 32, I have a pair of 2's here, and I have a pair of 2's there. So I have that original 2 that was outside. I have a 2 from the first circled pair, and I have a 2 from the second circled pair, and I still have that single 2 underneath the radical. And last but not least, this is why I left it as 2 times 6 times 6, because I see that I have that pair in there. So I take the 6 out, I still have the 2 from before, and then I have the 2 underneath the radical. I still have that negative 4 root 3 at the beginning. This needs to be a plus, this needs to be a minus, and this is a plus. So now we're at negative 4 root 3 plus, this will be 8 root 3 minus 8 root 2 and plus 12 root 2. So now I'm at the point where I can add and subtract my like terms, because I can see those two both have a root 3 in them, so those are like terms. And then I'll look here and go, I have a root 2 and a root 2. Those are like terms. So I can put these together. Negative 4 root 3 plus 8 root 3 is going to put us at a positive 4 root 3. And then the negative 8 root 2 and the positive 12 root 2 is going to put us at a positive 4 root 2. And then since that's positive, we're going to add that on, and there we go. We have simplified that radical expression. My next one, I have some fractions involved. So the first thing that we're going to do here is the same thing that we did in the previous one. We're going to simplify each expression if possible. So I look at this first one, the root 6 over 5. Root 6 is already simplified. 5 in the denominator, that's simplified. That one's done. But this next one, the square root of 2/3, that one I can simplify. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remind us that if we have a radical that has a fraction under it, we can break that apart so that we have a radical in the numerator and a radical in the denominator. Now, the reason I do that is because now I look at it and go, I have to rationalize the denominator. To do that, I'm going to multiply by root 3 in the denominator, because root 3 times root 3 is going to put us at 3. No more radicals, but remember, we have to multiply by a form of 1 so we don't change the value. Now you can see in the blue, there's my form of 1. So this fraction is going to end up at the square root of 6 over 3. And then we go back to that original one, which is square root of 6 over 5. And we are subtracting. Now remember, to add or subtract fractions, we have to have a common denominator. So I'm going to look at this, and I go 5 and 3 are my denominators. So I'm going to have a common denominator then of 15. So to make this second fraction become 15 in the denominator, I'm going to have to multiply by 5, which means I'm going to have to multiply the numerator by 5. And the first one, in order to get the denominator to be 15, I have to multiply by 3 in the denominator, which means I got to multiply the numerator by 3. So now I end up with 3 root 6. I should probably write down what I said. Let's try that again. 3 root 6. And then we're going to subtract 5 root 6. Well, 3 minus 5 is going to put us at negative 2, so we'll end up with negative 2 root 6 over 15. Nothing more to simplify there, and we have our final answer. And then that will conclude our lesson on the review of adding and subtracting radical expressions.